Welcome to the start of what is now TOCA Touring Car Championship. And so, I shall begin this game by going to start race and heading over to championship mode. So, it is going to be a new game, obviously, and we can choose between short championship and full championship, and short championship, like I said before, you still have to do all the races except for saying it will be at a reduced distance, and full championship, well, you're basically doing all of the races at their full distances. So a total of 16 drivers and 8 teams who will be competing in this championship, myself included, which means of course one of the BTCC regulars will not be competing in this said championship. And as for my name, well, I'm going to go with Jordan, obviously. And as for the team I'm going to drive for, well, we have a total of 8 teams we can drive for here, as of which we could drive for Honda, Audi, Vauxhall, Volvo, Ford, Nissan, Peugeot, and Renault. Renault, of course, being the dominators that season, so not going to drive for Renault. And I think the team I'm going to drive for is Vauxhall, because, well, I figured if it's possible to win a normal championship driving for Peugeot, then surely it must be more than doable to win the championship driving for Vauxhall. Also, I should mention we are going to get plenty of useful in-game commentary from Tiffany Dell, who is the guy who does the pre- and post-race commentary. Over to you, cutscene.
This is the 1997 Touring Car Championship. Everyone's eyes are on Vauxhall this season as they reveal their new driver. So, Donington Park is the setting for the opening action of the year in our first of 2 visits here this season. Let's see how the main contenders fared during the first qualifying session.
Okay, I should also mention there is going to be plenty of in-depth commentary coming from Tiffany Dell, as of which most of you who are veterans of this game probably knew that already, but yeah, the guy we get for doing the pre- and post-race commentary in this game is none other than the racing driver and former Top Gear presenter, Tiffany Dell. Of literally all the people in the world, Tiffany Dell is the awesome man they chose to do the commentary for this awesome game. And based of course off the 1997 British Touring Car Championship, as of which this game did also come out in 97. Basically, a couple of weeks after the BTCC that year was over and done with, Alain Menu still holds the record for the most wins by a single driver in a BTCC season with 12. And of course, Alain Menu, I should also mention, is in the top 10 for the most wins by a single driver in the BTCC. Although the winningest driver in terms of career wins in the BTCC is officially Jason Plato, who I think has a total of 83 victories to his name, as of which Renault was technically one of the earliest teams Jason Plato had driven for, and he is a double world champion, as of which he won the BTCC in 01 and also in 2010. But the winningest driver in terms of championships is Colin Turkington, who at the moment is tied for the most BTCC championships with Andy Rouse. The two of them both have a total of 4 BTCC titles to their names, and approaching on one of the Hondas, he blocked me immensely, and I'm pretty sure that's going to cost me some overall track time, but I really do hope, now that I've gone back to my standard recording section, that nothing is gonna go questionably, and somehow I'm still faster in spite of that contact. Also, I've learned there are certain corners where you can actually go faster if you cut them. Although you can cut them to an extent, but obviously I'm going to try my hardest to be about as clean as I can on the qualifying runs, because, well, even if I do end up cutting corners, I can assure you pole position is not going to be one of my targets, because I'm pretty sure pole position in terms of qualifying, that is totally out of the question. And somehow, in spite of that contact with one of the Hondas, I still went 3 seconds faster. Also, this is the first and only time in the game overall where I will be showcasing qualifying. I've also learned you can upscale the quality if your PS3 has backwards compatibility, and I'm pretty sure all models have backwards compatibility with PS1 games. I recently learned you can actually upscale the quality, which is the main reason why the quality is higher than what you would expect it to be. At least if it was on PS1, the overall renderation would be lower than this, but remarkably it isn't. So I'm going to try my hardest to make it so I'm at least being relevant. And now heading under the Dunlop Bridge, and heading into the kink, and less than a second quicker as I just slingshot my way through the kink there. I'm pretty sure that has now given me some additional speed the way I see it. Heading into this hairpin at 121 miles per hour, and now heading up into the second hairpin turn, which immediately follows this one, and braking hard and trying to make it so I do not lose control of the car. And this is going to be a new best lap. Over to you, Tiff.
Well, there was very little in it, so we should be in for an excellent race.
That's impressive. I qualified 8th in the end of that session, so at least I can say I'm in the top half of the field. And the teammate I have is Derek Warwick, who is pretty cool. And also Tim Harvey qualified in the top 10, which is good for Peugeot. Anyways, time for the race start. Back to you, Tiff, once it loads.
It's time now for our first race of the day, so let's join the action.
Another thing I should mention about these races is, well, we do have minimum point requirements we need to meet, and obviously I am pretty sure this is going to be fairly easy once I take the lead. Of course, I am pretty sure there is going to be chaos to start with, but I'm already progressing my way through the order, already up to 5th, and one of the two Renaults has really fallen back on the start. I'm going to assume that must have been Jason Plato who fell all the way back, and keeping the car under control. And apparent as it might be, the two Hondas are actually up into second and third positions respectively, and one of the Audis is up there, and oh fuck me. Oh fuck, I'm still in the gravel. Okay. It's alright, it's fine, I'm underway once again, and one of the Volvos was really pushing my ass there. I should also mention there are going to be a lot of spins in this championship, but still, I'm very surprised to say that I managed to qualify 8th for my first attempt. I guess it must have been when I just straight up floored it through the kink before the two hairpins, and then that was basically what, you know, propelled me all the way up into 8th position. And it looks as though Plato has now repassed the leading Audi. I'm going to assume it's John Bintcliffe who is in the leading Audi, as of which Frank Bieler, I would imagine, is further back, but ultimately Plato is now really falling back. He's fallen all the way back to 6th. Meanwhile, I'm now already moving my way up into 4th position, and it looks as though Honda is actually leading this thing. So both Audis are running well, as of which they are now both running in 4th and 5th positions respectively. And I'm going to assume Menu still leads this thing, and I've spun again. Son of a bitch. And only fallen as far back as 6th. But somehow I was still 3/10 faster through that first sector, probably because it was on the first lap. But anyways, everything seems to be going well at the moment, aside from that. And is my camera still running? Yes, it is. Okay, so I guess I must have just stuck with the recording quality I always stuck with, which is 1080. Even though I will have to export these videos in 720, because obviously the video length is going to be much longer than what I had with Cars 2. And the Audi was blocking me immensely there, but anyways, I think once I know my tyres have warmed up, that's when I can really start getting the hammer down. And Plato is now once again trying to pass the leading Audi for 3rd position, it looks like, and that's going to allow me to pull off the slingshot and just manage to keep it under control there. Basically pulling off a Nelson Piquet there, even though it wasn't on the outside. Basically pulled off a Nelson Piquet style manoeuvre whilst almost losing control of the car in the process, as of which that's precisely what Nelson Piquet did at Hungaroring in '86, when he somehow went onwards to win the race as a result of himself passing Senna from the outside at the first hairpin turn. And I'm pretty sure the course was Hungaroring. And 4 seconds is the overall interval I need to catch up to the leading Honda. I'm going to assume it's James Thompson in the leading Honda, because I think Tarquini is somewhere further back in the points. So Menu still leads this thing, but at least I know Plato is not having a good day, meaning that I am officially in contention for getting some reasonable points for Vauxhall, whereas, oh, fuck me. Yeah, Thompson was not wanting to move over. Maybe it's because he didn't see me, but again, at least I can say I'm up into 2nd now. And up to the end of lap 3, I'm now already closing in on Alain Menu, who I am going to assume is the leader of this thing. Although I could be wrong, because, well, the one thing this game doesn't reveal are the driver names on the interval, even though it does have electronic scoring. Anyways, going down the outside, some of these races are going to be pretty easy to win in my opinion, but other ones will be harder. But whilst it is a good day from one side of the Renault garage, it's not so much of a good day from the other side of the Renault garage. Come on. Stay with me, stay with me. Okay. So, I'm now up into the lead, and it's only taken me 3 full laps to officially take the lead for the first time. Anyways, so I now lead this thing for the first time, as of which this is the first lap I've led all day, and I'm pretty sure I will also be leading up to the end of the race. I think now that my tyres have warmed up and everything appears to be running as it should, maybe everything will go the way I want it to. And maybe if it's possible, my camera will not be giving me quality issues like it has been doing with all the other settings I've tried. Because I went back to the 1080 by 50 FPS setup I was using before. And everything seems to be running smoothly. And I can definitely say, since I put the upscale on my backwards compatibility system, this game is definitely looking better than from when I originally saw it. I mean, I could even read Vectra on the back, and I'm also pretty sure that's the Mobile 1 logo I see on the license plate. But anyways, so all I need to do now is just comfortably pull away from the pack. And then, once I have done that, I can basically go onwards and achieve a relatively easy win. So, the early stages of this game, I would suspect will be relatively easy, but then once we get into the later stages of the championship, that's when things are going to start to get more challenging, and I can probably estimate there will be some challenges to come along the way. I'm also pretty sure there will be some trial and error to compensate, but at the very least, I am here now and I am leading my first race in this game. Meaning the championship to start with will be relatively easy, but it will get harder and harder as we progress onwards. So, heading into the first hairpin turn, and now going into the second of the two hairpin turns that follow this one, and on the brakes nice and early, trying to make it so I get a smooth exit. And we are now on to lap 6, and that lap was 4.5 seconds slower. I'm also pretty sure it's only a matter of time before I catch up to lapped traffic, and where I'm pretty sure chaos is going to happen right in front of me, but again, racing to start with in this game will be pretty easy. At least, it's what it'll be at the beginning, but again, this game will get harder and harder as we go along, and I think there is the possibility of me maybe having to do more than a single attempt on one race, so I can, try and see if I can at least, finish in third place or better for each of the races. As of which, at the bare minimum, I would need to finish third or better in both races if I was to score the minimum points requirement, as of which we need to score 20 points from each weekend, and the two Fords are battling hard with the two Peugeots, and the two Peugeots have now fallen to the back. Tim Harvey has now pretty much fallen to the back of the pack since the start, and looks as though I am now closing in on my teammate Derek, and it appears as though the Fords are not wanting me to overlap them politely, and oh, hold on. Sorry, that's not Derek, that's one of the Nissans, and I just spun him out. I did not mean to do that, but I just spun him out for some reason. I can assure you that wasn't intentional, but I just ended up spinning him out. Anyways, it's fine, because I'm pretty sure that's not going to be the last time I end up overlapping the two Fords and the two Peugeots, and Derek Warwick must be having a better race day than he did in qualifying, and really trying my hardest to not spin the car whilst I'm here. And at least I can say my tyres are now up to temperature, and I was actually shocked to say that I managed to qualify 8th in this race. Also, something else I should mention about Derek Warwick is that even though he only had one win in the BTCC, he did achieve World Championship success himself, as of which he did win the World Sports Car Championship in 1992, and Derek at the moment is currently running 11th, and I'm pretty sure that's Derek because I just saw the Vauxhall logo. And heading into the hairpin now, as which that's the first of 2 hairpins that follows the kink, and everything with my screen recorder seems to be running well, as of which I was anxious coming into this race of knowing if something was going to happen, but hopefully it won't, and maybe this time I've managed to do something properly. Anyways, Derek Warwick has now been overlapped. He is just on the cusp of the points, except for saying he's well behind whoever the 10th placed driver is. I'm going to assume it's one of the Nissans that is in the top 10. It's probably Anthony Reid from what I can make out, but I could be wrong. It's only a suspicion, but I think it is Anthony Reid who's running in the points for Nissan, although I couldn't tell you who the other guy is because I'd need to look in the manual, but obviously everything at the moment is actually going surprisingly well, considering everything I've had to go through today to get up to this point. So heading under the Dunlop Bridge once again, but yeah, so anyways, going back to Derek Warwick, he did in fact finish on the podium a plethora of times in his Formula 1 career, and he was even recalled by F1 as being one of the greatest drivers to never score victory in a Formula 1 race. But outside of that, Derek Warwick did manage to salvage World Championship success in the World Sports Car Championship in 1992, as of which he was the first of 3 drivers to drive the all-conquering Peugeot 905 that season, as of which the 1992 World Sports Car Championship, which was also the final World Sports Car Championship to be held, even though it would eventually be succeeded by the World Endurance Championship less than 2 decades later in 2010. The World Sports Car Championship in 1992, also ironically the final season of the Group C era, my mistake. But yeah, the final season of the Group C era of endurance racing, and where Peugeot had just absolutely crushed their opposition, basically winning 5 out of 6 races that were held over the course of the 1992 season. I think there was only 1 race they didn't win that season, but the 3 drivers I can think of who drove the Peugeot 905 were officially the likes of Frenchman, almost lost it there, but yeah, so the 3 drivers who had officially driven the all-conquering Peugeot 905 that season were officially Frenchman Yannick Dalmas, Derek Warwick, and if you account for the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the 3rd driver, I believe, was Mark Blundell. As of which, to those of you who are familiar with F1 coverage being hosted on ITV, you would of course know Mark Blundell for being the guy who hosted the... oh shit. Well, at least I can say menu is nowhere near me. Anyways. So, yeah. So, to those of you who are familiar with Mark Blundell, you would, of course, know the man for being the main host, for being one of the main hosts of the F1 on ITV coverage from the mid to late 2000s, as of which originally it was Jim Rosenthal and Tony Jardine who were the main hosts of the Sky Sports who were the main hosts of the ITV F1 coverage. Of course, many people do also know Jim Rosenthal for being a well-known football presenter. Also, the ITV F1 coverage in the mid to late 2000s, I think from about 06 to 08 if I'm not mistaken. And I need to plug my laptop in. Just depends on knowing if I can do that somehow. Even though if I do, I will probably spin round. Well, anyways. Let's see how I go. Okay. Well, everything seems to be going well and... oh, shit. Oh well. Okay. So, had to plug my laptop back in, as of which... figured that was something I had to do. Because, obviously if I didn't, my laptop would probably be dying. And I think it is on charge now, as of which I did plug the cable in as I just spun out. At least I can say Menu is nowhere near me, and I'm pretty sure Menu, because he was that season's dominator, he is clearly going to be my main rival over the course of this season. And I really do hope this is not where my laptop starts to throw wobblers at me. Anyways, I'm keeping my eyes on it, but once it does, then well, I won't be surprised. Anyways, at least I can say everything appears to be in order, so yeah, I'm gonna have to keep my eyes on it just to try and see what may happen. Okay. Well, still seems to be running the way it should be at the moment. Although, I do not want to make any guarantees in saying it'll stay like this. And I'm once again approaching the Peugeots and Fords. And, oh, sorry. This is actually the upper half of the field, anyways. I'm actually approaching the two Nissans in this group, and along with it, we also have the I think I also saw one of the who was that? Well, I really don't know for sure, but wasn't that one of the Nissans I saw there? I got a feeling that's what it was, because I'm pretty sure I did see the Volvos down there as well, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways. Come on, laptop. Please stay with me. I really do want you to stay with me whilst I am recording up to the end of this race. Please. Okay, those curbs are a bad idea. Do not ride over those curbs. Those curbs are bad. Although, at least I can say not all of my recording sessions will be as long as this, but I am still keeping my eyes on my laptop to make sure nothing goes wrong. I am deeply hopeful in saying that does become the case. And, oh okay, it must have been the Audis I was approaching. As of which, the Fords and the Peugeots, the way I see it, they are probably the slowest cars in the entire pack. As of which, I've now overlapped them twice, and whoever that Peugeot is in front, he must have gone a hell of a long way ahead of me, the way I see it. But, up to this point, everything appears to be going well. Nothing major has happened to my laptop yet, but I don't want to jinx it, obviously. And now heading under the Dunlop tyre bridge once again, as we now head into the kink, and my lap times are not falling off that much. Obviously they're falling off a little bit, but they're not falling off as much as you might think they are, but of course, like I said before, well, probably didn't say before, but the AI's overall race pace to start with is completely different from their qualifying pace, because, well, in qualifying they can just basically go out and stonk you to the ground, but on race day, however, that's a totally different matter, and somehow that was good enough for a new best lap time. It's now a 1 minute 40.28, that is my best lap time, and somehow the Peugeot has actually overtaken one of the Hondas, although I'm going to assume he must have been unlapping himself, and don't want to get into contact with the Honda, because if I do he could spin me out. Thankfully that's not the case, and keeping myself under control now as I speak, and having to stamp on the brakes to avoid the slowing Peugeot, as of which I really did not want to rear end him. I'm going to suspect he must have had some contact already, but of course I do want to try and keep this car as clean as I can keep it. But anyways, so everything seems to be going well at the moment, and everything still appears to be running smoothly, and my teammate just got past. So Derek must have just got passed by a hard charging Peugeot. I'm going to suspect it's Tim Harvey in the Peugeot, but he's really started to set a blistering pace the way I see it in that Peugeot 406, and he's now closing in on one of the Volvos. So I'm going to suspect whoever the leading Peugeot driver is, he must have some serious pace. And now heading down into turn 1 once again, now beginning lap 15, and everything still running the way it should be. And now, yeah, the AI must be starting to not wanting me to overlap them. Of course, they could get annoying, but that could have been a lot worse than it actually was. Anyways, so I almost spun out there again, but surprisingly I didn't, and I'm pretty sure that is one of the Volvos I see in front of me, so it's pretty clear to say it's going to be pretty interesting by the time I do manage to overlap whoever is in that second Volvo, although it could be the leading Volvo, the way I see it. But of course, you don't have to worry about my race lead because, well, I'm basically solidifying that as we speak, and I am going to suspect Menu must also be having trouble with the back markers. As we now head into the second hairpin turn, everything appears to be going as planned, and now we have just 3 laps to go. As I'm now overlapping the leading Audi who just wrecked me. Fuck you, whoever that was. Yeah, also don't really need to worry about the highlights for each of these races, because I would suspect the only thing you'll really be getting from the highlights is me spinning a lot. And still keeping myself up to speed, and I can definitely say my Vauxhall has definitely taken some more beating and banging than I would have thought it was going to, but again, we are entering the closing stages, so I would imagine this is where the AI get more aggressive, but then again, the start of this game might be easy, but I can assure you the rest of this game is probably going to be anything but. Anyways, heading through the first of the 2 hairpins, and now heading up to the second of these 2 consecutive hairpins, and now we have just 2 laps to go for race 1 here at Donington. And now this is probably where the AI will really get the hammer down. I have no idea how that worked, but somehow it did. Somehow that actually worked. I literally downshifted into reverse gear, and somehow it actually prevented me from spinning. Honestly, I'm not even mad when I did that. That's amazing. Oh, never mind. Well, at least I can say menu isn't a concern up to this point. I'm still leading. He must be held up by the back markers. I don't think he's a major concern up to this point, although he could just be right behind me, but I really don't want to spin too many more times up to this point if that is menu behind me. I'm hopeful in saying it isn't, but I really need to clear these back markers if I am going to win this race as dominantly as I have been doing. I'm also pretty sure the final lap is going to need to be a smooth one. Anyways, so cutting the hairpin a little bit there, but still managing to keep myself sticking to the track surface. And now heading down into the first of these 2 consecutive hairpins, as of which there is another one that will follow, and doesn't look as though menu is behind me. He is probably held up in traffic somewhere the way I see it, and now we will head on to the final lap here at Donington. So here we are then. It's the final lap! At least I think that's what they say in the early Need for Speed games. But yeah, final lap, and looks as though this is going to be a pretty comfortable victory the way I see it, and almost losing control once again. But again, I don't think anyone is going to be contending with me for the win the way I see it. I'm probably well out in front of my competition the way I see it, so that shit I don't have to worry about. But at the very least, I can definitely say the start to this game has actually been pretty easy, and that's a good thing, because at the very least it means we will be meeting our required target by maximising on the points. I've also heard if you can get pole position during qualifying, you can get 1 bonus point, which means of course the overall number of points, if we perfect qualifying and race trim, then the overall number of points we can score from a single qualifying session and a race weekend is precisely 16 points. And heading through this final hairpin turn, and now I shall hand it over to Tiffany Dell.
Well, we may have a budding star in our hands as the new Vauxhall driver scores his first touring car win. So let's see the final result.
So I won by 1 minute and 2 seconds over Menu. Thompson was third ahead of Jason Plato. Frank Beeler was in the first of the two Audis, followed by Ricardo Rydell. Tarquini seventh ahead of Bintcliffe, who completes the top 8. And then for the bottom 10 we have David Leslie ahead of Kelsey Burt. Derek Warwick eventually came home 11th ahead of Tim Harvey. Paul Radicic was 13th ahead of Will Hoy. Anthony Reid finishes 15th in the second Nissan, and Patrick Watts finishes last in the other Peugeot. Yeah, by the way, I should also mention, once we have done one of the races, we immediately just get thrown into the second qualifying session. Basically no inclination whatsoever, but anyways. So, amidst all of that, that was the first race of Championship Mode in TOCA, and next time we will be doing Race 2.